Honestly, if a woman is not interested in you, she will do these 7 things, psychology tricks. Listen up, because this will save you more than pride. It'll save you time, focus, and your peace. Most men don't lose because they're not good enough. They lose because they keep investing in a woman who already checked out, and they call it hope. Here's the truth. When a woman isn't interested, she won't usually say it bluntly. She'll show it. Not with sweet words, not with polite smiles, but with consistent patterns that quietly reveal where you stand. And remember this line from Maya Angelou. When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. That applies to dating more than anywhere else. If her interest is real, you won't have to decode it like a mystery novel. If it's not real, you'll find yourself making excuses for behavior that would be unacceptable if you respected your own time. So don't cling to maybe. Don't chase mixed signals like they're secret invitations. Be the man who watches actions, not promises. Society trains men to over-pursue, over-explain, and overweight, but you're not here to beg for clarity. You're here to see reality and move with discipline. So subscribe, because what we're about to cover will hit hard, but it will make you sharper, calmer, and impossible to manipulate. 7 behaviors a woman consistently shows when she's not interested, and once you recognize them, you'll stop wasting months on what was never yours to fight for. 1. Mysterious unavailability. Here's something most men don't want to hear, but every man between 35 and 70 needs to understand clearly if he wants peace of mind, self-respect, and emotional clarity. When a woman is not interested in you, one of the earliest and loudest signals is what I call mysterious unavailability. And it's a pattern so consistent that once you learn to see it, you can never unsee it again. Because this is not about chance, bad timing, or temporary stress. This is about priority. And priority never lies. So don't brush this off. Don't soften it. Don't rationalize it. And don't argue with reality, because reality is trying to protect you, not hurt you. When a woman isn't interested, she doesn't disappear once in a while. She disappears regularly, predictably, and conveniently. She's always busy, not in a focused, disciplined way, but in a scattered, excuse-filled way that somehow never resolves. She has work, she has errands, she has family things, she has social commitments, she has sudden obligations, she has vague plans, she has something came up. And the key detail most men miss is not that she's busy, it's that she's always busy specifically when it comes to you and only you. Because here's the truth most men refuse to accept. Everyone has the same 24 hours, and interest rearranges time without effort. When a woman genuinely wants to see you, she doesn't negotiate with the calendar like it's a legal contract. She simply makes it happen. She moves things around. She shortens other commitments. She creates space, even if that space is small, because desire doesn't need perfect conditions, it just needs intention. And this is basic female psychology. It hasn't changed in decades, no matter how modern dating looks on the surface. When she's interested, she texts back with momentum. She suggests alternatives instead of delays. She locks in plans instead of floating maybes. She shows consistency instead of fog. But when she's not interested, the pattern flips completely. And this is where men start hurting themselves by lying to their own minds. They say things like, she's just overwhelmed, or she's going through a busy phase, or once things calm down, she'll have more time. But listen carefully. Calm never comes for someone who isn't looking for you. The week turns into 2 weeks. The weekend turns into next month, and next month quietly turns into silence. During that silence, you'll notice something that stings if you're honest with yourself. You'll see her active elsewhere, smiling in photos, laughing with friends, attending events, living her life, which tells you everything without saying a word, because time is not missing. It's allocated elsewhere. And this is not cruelty. This is clarity. The cruelty comes when you refuse to accept the clarity and start building hope on top of excuses. Don't do that. Don't chase ambiguity. Don't invest emotion where there is no return signal. Don't reward distance with effort, because psychology tricks only work when you first understand yourself. And the most powerful psychology trick is emotional self-control, not persuasion, not strategy, not manipulation, just self-respect. When you remain available while she remains unavailable, you create imbalance. An imbalance kills attraction before it ever has a chance to grow, because attraction feeds on mutual energy, not one-sided patience. And this is where many men confuse kindness with endurance. They think being understanding will eventually earn desire, but desire is not a reward for waiting. It's a response to presence, confidence, and clarity. If she doesn't meet you there, you must stop filling in the gaps for her. Don't ask for more explanations. Don't request reassurance. Don't push for closure conversations that lead nowhere. Be still. Be observant. Be honest with yourself, because her behavior has already answered the question you're afraid to ask out loud. Here's the deeper layer most men miss. Mysterious unavailability is often passive communication. It's how someone says no without saying it directly. And while that may feel frustrating, it's still communication. Your job is not to decode it endlessly. Your job is to respond with dignity. The moment you stop chasing someone who isn't choosing you, you regain your power instantly. And power here doesn't mean control over her. It means control over yourself. Understand this through the lens of female psychology and how to fall in love properly, because love does not begin in confusion. It begins in clarity, safety, and mutual effort. Any connection that requires you to constantly guess where you stand is not a connection. It's an emotional drain. And the longer you stay in it, the more you train your mind to accept uncertainty as normal, which it isn't. Don't keep telling yourself that showing more effort will suddenly flip the switch. Effort without interest feels like pressure, not attraction. This is one of those psychology tricks that backfires when misunderstood, because the more you lean in while she leans out, the less appealing the dynamic becomes. Not because you did something wrong, but because attraction cannot grow where enthusiasm is uneven. Instead, do this. Step back without drama, without resentment, without announcements. Stop initiating. Stop filling silence. Stop offering availability where none is returned, and watch how the truth surfaces on its own. If she notices and reaches out with genuine effort, you have information. And if she doesn't, you also have information. Both outcomes free you. And freedom is the real win here. Remember, being busy is a fact of life. But being unavailable to one specific person is a choice. Once you accept that, you stop wasting emotional energy trying to solve a problem that isn't yours to solve. Because the goal is not to convince someone to choose you. The goal is to recognize when someone already isn't and move accordingly. This understanding alone will save you years of frustration, sleepless nights, and self-doubt. It aligns perfectly with healthy female psychology and how to fall in love in a grounded, mutual way, not an anxious, one-sided way. Don't be the man who waits indefinitely for clarity that already exists. Be the man who sees patterns, respects himself, and walks forward without bitterness. Because the right connection never hides behind constant unavailability. It meets you halfway without needing excuses. And once you internalize this, psychology tricks stop being about tactics and start becoming wisdom. Because wisdom is simply seeing reality clearly and choosing yourself without guilt. 2. Low-effort communication. Communication tells you everything, far more than promises, far more than words chosen carefully. Not what she says, but how she says it. The energy behind it, the effort inside it, the interest woven through it, or the silence hiding behind it. And when a woman is not interested in you, her communication becomes low effort in a way that feels subtle at first, almost innocent, but painfully obvious once you learn how to see it clearly. Her messages shrink. One word, 2 words, no questions back, no curiosity about your life, no desire to keep the conversation alive. You send her a thoughtful paragraph, something with substance, something real. She replies with LOL, or cool, or nice. You ask her about her day, genuinely wanting to connect, and she says, it was fine, with nothing attached. No story, no follow-up, no opening. You share something you're excited about, an achievement, a plan, a moment that matters to you, and she responds with a thumbs-up emoji, like you just sent her a receipt instead of a piece of your life. There's no reciprocation, no engagement, no depth. And that absence is not accidental. It's communication in its purest form. Here's where most men go wrong, especially men who still believe effort alone can change outcomes. They try harder. They send longer messages. They explain themselves more clearly. They ask more questions. They chase the conversation. They overcompensate for her lack of interest with their own enthusiasm, thinking that consistency, patience, or emotional availability will eventually turn the tide. Don't do that. Don't confuse persistence with attraction. Don't mistake silence for mystery, because it never works. Not once. You can't negotiate attraction. You can't text your way into her heart. You can't convince someone to care by caring harder. Attraction is not a debate. It's a response. And female psychology is very clear on this point, even if modern dating culture tries to blur it. When a woman is interested, communication feels different immediately. Not perfect, not constant, but alive. She matches your energy. She asks questions, not out of politeness, but curiosity. She shares about herself without being prompted. She sends voice notes because typing feels limiting. She uses emojis that show emotion, not just acknowledgement. She keeps the conversation going because she wants to talk to you, not because she feels obligated to reply. There's rhythm. There's flow. There's mutual effort. That is how women naturally behave when attraction is present. And that behavior doesn't need to be taught, coached, or requested. It happens on its own. But when she's not interested, every response feels like pulling teeth. Every conversation dies unless you resuscitate it. Every interaction feels one-sided, like you're carrying a weight she never agreed to hold. And if you're honest with yourself, you already know it. You feel it in your chest. You notice it in the pauses. You see it in the timing, the brevity, the lack of warmth. You just don't want to accept it, because acceptance feels like loss. But clarity is not loss. Clarity is relief. This is where becoming a high-value man starts, not with tactics, not with scripts, not with psychology tricks designed to manipulate outcomes, but with emotional discipline and self-awareness. A high-value man does not chase low-effort communication. He does not reward disinterest with more access. He does not pour masculine energy into a space that offers no return. He observes. He calibrates. He responds accordingly. That is not arrogance. That is self-respect. And self-respect is magnetic. Understand this deeply. Low-effort communication is not a test you need to pass. It's an answer you need to accept. Many men think they're being tested when a woman replies slowly or briefly, so they lean in harder, thinking endurance proves worth. But attraction doesn't grow through endurance. It grows through alignment. When effort is uneven, attraction collapses under its own imbalance. And the more you chase, the more you signal that your time and attention have no value. That signal quietly erodes masculine energy, not because you care, but because you ignore your own boundaries. Don't analyze every emoji. Don't reread messages searching for hidden meaning. Don't ask yourself what you did wrong. Ask yourself one simple question. Is this communication reciprocal? If the answer is no, then the behavior is the message. Be a man who listens to behavior. Be a man who trusts patterns. Be a man who understands female psychology without resenting it. Because women don't owe interest, but you owe yourself awareness. Here's the paradox most men miss. The moment you stop chasing low-effort communication, you become more attractive, not necessarily to her, but to the right dynamic. When you pull back calmly, without drama, without passive-aggressive remarks, without sudden disappearances designed to provoke a reaction, you reclaim your frame. You stop leaking energy. You stop performing. And that is when masculine energy stabilizes. That stability is what allows you to attract women who actually want to engage, not just respond. A high-value man doesn't try to win attention. He notices where attention flows naturally. He invests where effort is mutual. He walks away from what feels forced. That mindset alone filters your dating life dramatically. It saves time. It saves emotional energy. It saves dignity. And it aligns you with how to fall in love in a healthy, grounded way, where interest grows from shared curiosity, not emotional labor. Don't misunderstand this. This is not about becoming cold. It's not about ignoring women. It's not about playing games. It's about refusing to play a game where the rules are already stacked against you. If her replies feel like obligations instead of enthusiasm, step back. If conversations only survive through your effort, pause. If silence feels heavy instead of peaceful, stop initiating. That is not punishment, that is alignment. And here's something important for men between 35 and 70 to hear clearly. At this stage of life, your time is your most valuable currency. Spending it chasing low-effort communication is not romantic. It's expensive. You have experience. You have perspective. You have depth. You don't need to convince anyone to see that. The right woman will feel it and respond accordingly. When you understand this, psychology tricks stop being tricks. They become awareness. Female psychology stops feeling confusing and starts feeling consistent, and attracting women stops being about effort and starts being about selection. You don't attract women by talking more. You attract women by being centered, calm, and selective with your attention. That is masculine energy at its core. So don't send another paragraph to someone giving you one-word replies. Don't ask another question to someone who never asks you anything back. Don't explain your value to someone who isn't curious enough to discover it. Be still, be observant, be honest. That is how a high-value man moves. That is how you attract women who actually want to connect. And that is how you protect your energy, your confidence, and your self-respect without anger, without bitterness, and without regret. If this hit a little too close to home, that's a good thing. Because clarity is power. Stop chasing dry replies. Stop carrying conversations alone. Choose self-respect over false hope. And if you're ready to move like a man who values his time and energy, drop a comment right now and say, "I don't chase low-effort communication." Like this video, subscribe for more real-world psychology, and remind yourself every day, interest is shown, not explained. 3. One-sided initiation. One-sided initiation is not a small detail, it is the detail. If you miss it, you miss everything. In modern life, attention is currency. Effort is proof. Consistency reveals truth faster than words ever will. So watch closely who reaches out first, who starts conversations, who suggests plans, and who keeps the connection alive. Patterns never lie, even when people do. If you are always the one texting first, calling first, checking in first, adjusting your schedule first, and carrying the emotional weight of the interaction, you are not leading. You are not being masculine. You are not showing interest. You are overextending into silence. And as harsh as it sounds, there is a difference between pursuing and bothering. Experienced men learn this the hard way. When a woman is genuinely interested, initiation is mutual, effortless, and natural. She reaches out without prompting. She sends you things that remind her of you. She checks in because she wants to, not because she feels obligated. She starts conversations because you are already on her mind. She looks for reasons to connect, not excuses to disappear. But when she is not interested, the pattern flips completely into absence, delay, and indifference. Suddenly, everything depends on you, your effort, your energy, your imagination, your patience. If you stopped texting, you would hear nothing. If you stopped making plans, you would see nothing. If you stopped reaching out altogether, days would turn into weeks, and weeks might stretch into nothing at all. This is where most men lie to themselves, telling stories to protect their hope. She's just shy. She's bad at texting. She's waiting for me to lead. She's busy. She's different. But Old Stoic wisdom reminds us that reality does not require interpretation. It requires acceptance. People do exactly what they want to do. They make time for what matters to them. Marcus Aurelius warned long ago that confusion comes not from events themselves, but from the stories we attach to them. In today's world, where everyone carries a phone, silence is not an accident. It is a message. Here is the test most men avoid because it threatens their ego but saves their future. Stop initiating. Stop texting first. Stop carrying the interaction. Stop doing all the emotional labor. Step back and observe. Observation is power, and power belongs to the calm, disciplined mind, not the anxious one. See what happens. See if she notices. See if she reaches out. See if she asks where you've been. See if she actually cares enough to bridge the gap herself. If she does nothing, you do not need another conversation, another explanation, or another 6 months of hope. You already have your answer. Knowing the truth early is a victory, not a loss, because time is the only resource you never get back. Stoicism win is not about bitterness or blame. It is about clarity, boundaries, and emotional economy. The iron mind understands this deeply. Interest does not need to be chased, explained, negotiated, or extracted. It shows up willingly, consistently, and without pressure. In modern dating culture, where options are endless and distractions are constant, effort becomes the clearest signal of value. When effort only flows in one direction, the connection is already unbalanced. No amount of charm, patience, or persistence will fix a dynamic built on indifference. As Seneca wrote, we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Most men suffer because they refuse to accept what is already happening in front of them. Instead of mastering their emotions, they hand control over to someone who has not earned it. Old Stoic wisdom teaches us to reclaim that control by aligning actions with truth, not hope. Here is the empowering shift. When you stop over-initiating, you stop leaking energy. When you stop chasing, you regain dignity. When you stop explaining yourself, you become grounded. Whether she reaches out or disappears becomes irrelevant, because either outcome gives you clarity. Clarity is freedom. This is the mindset Stoicism win is built on. A man with an iron mind does not beg for attention. He does not compete for indifference. He does not invest where there is no return. He observes, decides, and moves forward with purpose. This is not about anger or resentment. It is about self-respect, efficiency, and emotional leadership in your own life. The goal is not to convince someone to choose you. The goal is to recognize when someone already has. If she hasn't, you walk away without drama, without speeches, without chasing closure. Your silence becomes your boundary. Your absence becomes your answer. The modern man who masters this lesson stops wasting years on unclear situations and starts directing his energy toward growth, peace, and relationships that meet him halfway. That is how you win, not by forcing attraction, but by refusing to abandon yourself for it. By practicing Old Stoic wisdom daily, by building an iron mind that values truth over fantasy, by living the philosophy of Stoicism, win not as theory, but as a standard for how you move, choose, and protect your time in a world that constantly tests your discipline. 4. Talking about other men. Here's the hard truth most men don't want to face, but absolutely must understand if they want clarity, dignity, and peace of mind. When a woman is not interested in you, one of the clearest signs shows up in how freely she talks about other men. And if you don't learn to read this signal, you will waste months or even years stuck in false hope, silent frustration, and emotional confusion. So listen carefully. Don't explain this away. Don't romanticize it. Don't tell yourself stories that protect your ego, because this behavior is not accidental, it is not random, and it is not harmless. When a woman feels comfortable talking about other men in front of you, guys who approached her, men she finds attractive, her ex, male coworkers, or someone she's currently curious about, and especially when she asks your opinion about another man, that is not openness. That is placement. That is her unconsciously putting you into a category that is not romantic, because attraction changes behavior, and female psychology is brutally honest once you know what to look for. This is one of those psychology tricks that reveals the truth without a single word being spoken. Understand this clearly. She is not worried about making you jealous. She is not concerned about how you feel, and she is not protecting the dynamic between you, because in her mind, there is no romantic dynamic to protect, and that alone should tell you everything you need to know. When a woman sees you as a potential partner, she becomes selective with her words, careful with her stories, and aware of emotional boundaries. But when she sees you as safe, neutral, or non-threatening, she speaks freely, casually, almost carelessly, not because she wants to hurt you, but because she doesn't even consider that it might hurt you. And that is the most painful part for many men to accept. Don't misunderstand this as cruelty. It's not cruelty, it's clarity. And clarity is a gift if you're mature enough to receive it. The real damage happens when a man ignores this signal and continues to invest time, energy, attention, and emotional labor into a woman who has already decided quietly, internally, that he is not a romantic option. This is where so many men lose themselves. They stay present, they stay available, they stay supportive, they listen, they advise, they reassure, they hope. And all the while, she is speaking about other men as if he were her confidant, her emotional anchor, her safe place to land. That role feels flattering at first, but it is a dead end if what you want is attraction, intimacy, and mutual desire. This is where understanding female psychology saves you. Women do not operate primarily through direct rejection. They operate through behavior, through tone, through what they include you in, and what they exclude you from. And when she includes you in conversations about other men, she is excluding you from being one of them. That is not something you can negotiate your way out of, because attraction is not built through effort. It is revealed through response. Don't tell yourself, she's just being honest. Don't tell yourself, she trusts me. Don't tell yourself, maybe she's testing me. Those stories keep you stuck, and being stuck is far worse than being rejected. Rejection frees you. False hope slowly drains you. That is why so many men feel exhausted, resentful, and confused after long interactions with women who never actually wanted them romantically. They ignored the early signs and paid the price later. Be honest with yourself now. Honesty is power. Power is peace. And peace allows you to move forward with confidence instead of bitterness. Because when a woman is interested in you, she does not talk about other men. Not because she is hiding something, but because her focus naturally narrows. Attraction simplifies priorities. She is aware, consciously or unconsciously, that introducing other men into the conversation dilutes the emotional tension between you. Women who are drawn to you instinctively protect that tension. They don't invite competition. They don't seek your advice about their dating life. They don't vent about other men's behavior. They create space. They create curiosity. They create room for you to step in. And that difference matters more than any compliment, text message, or shared laugh. This is one of those psychology tricks that reveals intention without confrontation. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. Patterns don't lie, behavior doesn't lie, only our interpretations do. That is why men who understand how to fall in love properly, without losing themselves, pay attention to patterns instead of promises. Words are easy. Behavior is expensive. It costs emotional energy, and people only spend that energy where it matters to them. Don't stay where you are not desired. Don't compete silently with men who don't even know you exist. Don't play the role of emotional support while hoping for romance to magically appear. Hope without evidence is self-betrayal, and self-betrayal always leads to resentment. Resentment poisons your confidence, your presence, and your future relationships. Be grounded, be observant, be willing to walk away early instead of bleeding slowly. Walking away from the wrong situation creates space for the right one. This is something female psychology responds to deeply, even if it never turns this particular woman around. Because the goal is not to convince someone to choose you. The goal is to choose situations where you are already wanted. That is how to fall in love with clarity instead of confusion, with strength instead of anxiety, with mutual desire instead of silent longing. This is why men who understand psychology tricks don't argue with reality. They adjust to it. They respect themselves enough to step back when the signs are clear, and they move forward without anger, without blame, and without needing closure. Because the behavior already gave them the answer. You must remember this. Attraction doesn't require decoding when it's real. It feels clean. It feels mutual. It feels simple. The moment you find yourself analyzing, justifying, or enduring conversations about other men, that is your signal to pause, reassess, and reclaim your time. Your attention is valuable. Your presence matters, and your life is too short to be spent in someone else's waiting room. Once you truly understand this aspect of female psychology, you stop chasing signals and start choosing alignment. And that shift changes everything. If this hit a nerve, don't ignore it. Like this video, subscribe for more clear-eyed psychology, and share it with a man who needs the truth, not false hope. And to lock this lesson in, comment this sentence below and mean it. If she talks about other men, I stop waiting and start choosing myself. 5. Cancellations without rescheduling. Here's a pattern that reveals everything, and once you see it clearly, you can't unsee it. When a woman cancels plans, don't focus on the cancellation itself. Focus on what happens next. That is where the truth lives. Life happens, schedules change, emergencies come up. A cancellation alone means nothing. But behavior after the cancellation tells you everything you need to know. If a woman is genuinely interested, her energy doesn't disappear just because the plan fell apart. She feels it. She acknowledges it. She explains what happened. She apologizes without being dramatic. And most importantly, she replaces what was lost. She offers another day, another time, another plan. She takes initiative. She makes it clear that she still wants to see you. That is not chasing. That is basic investment. That is how interest behaves. But when a woman is not interested, the cancellation becomes vague and hollow. Sorry, something came up. I'm not feeling great. Can we do this another time? And then silence. No follow-up, no alternative, no effort to keep the connection moving forward. The words sound polite, but the action is empty, and action always outweighs words. This is not confusion. This is passive rejection. It's subtle. It's quiet. It avoids confrontation, and it keeps many men stuck longer than they should be. Pay attention to what happens when you try again. You bring it up calmly, you suggest another time, and suddenly she's busy again, or unsure, or non-committal. Yeah, maybe. Let me check my schedule. I'll let you know. And she never does. Days pass, weeks pass, nothing materializes. That is not bad timing. That is low priority. That is someone keeping you in limbo while exploring other options. And this is where men lose their footing if they don't understand female psychology. Don't explain this away. Don't tell yourself she's just overwhelmed. Don't assume she's shy. Don't convince yourself that being patient will somehow earn you interest. Patience does not create attraction. Presence does. Initiative does. Mutual effort does. A woman who wants to see you makes it easy to see her. Not effortless, but clear. Clear communication, clear intention, clear movement forward. Anything else is a signal, not a puzzle. This is where a high-value man separates himself from the crowd. He doesn't argue with reality. He doesn't beg for clarity. He doesn't send follow-up messages trying to revive dead momentum. He observes, he notes the pattern, and he responds with self-respect. That is masculine energy in its calmest form. Quiet, grounded, unreactive. A high-value man understands that attraction flows toward certainty, not neediness, toward direction, not hesitation, toward men who know when to step forward and when to step away. Be honest with yourself. If she wanted to reschedule, she would. If she wanted to see you, she would make space. People do not forget what matters to them. They rearrange for it, they protect it, they prioritize it. This is not about blaming her. She doesn't owe you interest, and you don't owe her unlimited availability. That is the balance many men miss. They keep showing up where they are not being chosen, hoping consistency will turn into desire. It won't. Consistency without reciprocation turns into quiet frustration. Don't stay in limbo. Limbo is where confidence erodes. Limbo is where you start checking your phone too often, where you replay conversations, where you lower your standards just to keep a connection alive. That is not how you attract women. That is how you lose yourself. A man rooted in masculine energy does not hover. He moves. He decides. He creates momentum in his own life instead of waiting for permission. Notice how different it feels when interest is real. When she cancels but immediately says, "I'm really sorry. Can we do Thursday instead?" When she follows up later and checks in. When she takes responsibility for keeping the connection alive. There is no guessing, no decoding, no anxiety. Attraction feels clean. Confusion is your signal that something is off. You must understand this deeply. Accepting vague cancellations without rescheduling trains people how to treat you. It silently communicates that your time is flexible, optional, and easy to dismiss. A high-value man does not lecture. He does not threaten. He simply adjusts his availability. He withdraws his attention. He moves forward. That alone is powerful. That alone resets the dynamic, and even if it doesn't change her behavior, it protects your self-respect. Be decisive. If she cancels and offers no alternative, take it as information, not an insult. Information. Say nothing dramatic. Don't chase clarity. Don't demand explanations. Simply step back. Invest your energy elsewhere. Build your life. Strengthen your purpose. That is how you attract women who are aligned with you. That is how masculine energy naturally grows, through direction, discipline, and emotional control, not through persuasion. This is one of those psychology tricks that feels simple, but saves you years of wasted effort. Men who master this don't become cold or bitter. They become selective, calm, grounded. They stop auditioning for attention and start choosing environments where interest is mutual. That shift alone changes how women respond to you because people feel when a man is not afraid to walk away. Don't confuse kindness with tolerance. Be kind, be respectful, but don't tolerate patterns that drain you. You must protect your time because your time is your life. And the moment you stop chasing vague interest is the moment you become more attractive, not because you're playing games, but because you're standing on principle. That is the essence of being a high-value man. Remember this: women who want you make it easy to move forward. Women who don't keep it vague. Your job is not to convince. Your job is to observe and respond with dignity. That is how you attract women who respect you. That is how masculine energy stays intact. And that is how you move through dating with clarity instead of confusion, strength instead of anxiety, and purpose instead of waiting. 6. Closed-off body language. Body language never lies, and this is one of the most uncomfortable truths a man must face if he wants clarity instead of confusion, strength instead of hope, and peace instead of self-deception. Because when a woman is not interested in you, her body will say no long before her mouth ever does, and no amount of talking, explaining, or trying harder will override what her instincts are already communicating. She creates distance without announcing it. She pulls her energy inward. She stops leaning in. She stops finding reasons to be close. She does not touch you casually. She does not linger. She does not soften. And if you move closer, she subtly moves away, not dramatically, not cruelly, but just enough to restore space, because space is safety when interest is absent. And if you place your arm around her and her body stiffens, that stiffness is not confusion, it is clarity. If you reach for her hand and she withdraws, that withdrawal is not timing, it is truth. And this is where most men fail themselves, by arguing with reality instead of listening to it. The body speaks the language the mind cannot fake. And as the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche once said, all credibility, all good conscience, all evidence of truth come only from the senses, which means what you see and feel matters more than what you hope. And in modern life, where texting, mixed signals, and social politeness blur boundaries, body language remains brutally honest, because attraction pulls people closer without effort, and disinterest creates invisible walls without explanation. And you already know this, because you have felt that wall before. You have sensed the lack of warmth, the absence of eye contact, the arms crossed, the body angled away, the subtle lack of engagement that makes conversations feel heavy and one-sided. Yet instead of accepting the message, many men negotiate with it, rationalize it, or try to outperform it, which only drains self-respect and weakens presence. Understand this clearly. When a woman is attracted to you, she does not need to be convinced to be close. She leans in naturally. She mirrors your movements without realizing it. She sits closer than necessary. She finds reasons to brush against you, to touch your arm, to maintain eye contact just a second longer than polite. Because attraction is not logical, it is instinctive, and instinct moves the body before the mind catches up. But when that instinct is absent, the body closes, and no clever words can open it. And this is where Old Stoic wisdom becomes your greatest ally, because Stoicism teaches you not to chase what resists, not to cling to what withdraws, and not to base your worth on another person's response. As Marcus Aurelius reminded us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. And strength here means the ability to observe reality without taking it personally, to accept signals without resentment, and to move forward with dignity intact. A man with an iron mind does not beg for closeness that is not freely given. He does not push against closed doors. He does not argue with nonverbal truth. He steps back calmly, regains his center, and chooses self-respect over validation, because Stoicism win is not about winning people over. It is about winning yourself back, mastering your reactions, and refusing to waste emotional energy where it is not returned. In today's world, many men confuse persistence with strength, but persistence in the face of disinterest is not strength. It is attachment, and attachment clouds judgment, lowers presence, and makes a man appear unaware rather than confident, whereas clarity, clear eyes, calm acceptance, and decisive movement forward is magnetic, even when it leads you away from a particular woman, because nothing raises a man's value faster than his willingness to walk away from what does not align, and nothing lowers it faster than his refusal to see what is right in front of him. Body language is feedback, not a personal attack, and feedback is a gift if you have the discipline to receive it without ego, because it allows you to redirect your energy toward growth, purpose, and self-mastery, which is where real attraction begins, whether from women or from life itself. And this is why the Stoic path insists on observation over fantasy, reality over hope, and self-command over emotional bargaining. Because a man who can calmly accept disinterest without bitterness is a man who cannot be shaken. And as Epictetus taught, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. And reacting well here means not collapsing inward, not hardening outward, but standing steady, learning the lesson, and moving on stronger. Remember this. Instruction clearly. If her body pulls away, you pull back too, not out of spite, not to prove anything, but to honor yourself. If she creates distance, you respect it without commentary. If warmth is absent, you do not try to manufacture it, because forced connection is not connection, and chasing closed energy only teaches your mind to ignore truth, which weakens your instincts over time, whereas honoring reality sharpens them, and a sharp mind is the foundation of an iron mind. Modern men are surrounded by noise telling them to try harder, say more, prove value, but old Stoic wisdom says the opposite. Observe, detach, act with precision, and when you live this way, you stop wasting time on uncertainty, you stop replaying moments in your head, and you stop asking why someone does not feel what they do not feel, because the answer is already visible in the space they create, the silence they keep, and the distance they maintain, and this understanding does not make you cold. It makes you free, because freedom begins when you stop needing external confirmation to remain steady inside. Stoicism win is not about emotional suppression. It is about emotional clarity. And clarity allows you to redirect your focus toward becoming a man whose presence feels grounded, whose boundaries feel calm, and whose life has direction beyond approval. And ironically, it is often only after a man stops chasing connection that he becomes capable of creating it, because attraction grows in the space where self-respect lives, and self-respect grows when you listen to truth without resistance, even when that truth tells you to walk away, stand tall, and continue forward alone if necessary. Remember this lesson well. Repeat it until it settles in your bones. Bodies don't lie. Distance is communication. Resistance is information. And acceptance is strength. And when you master this, you stop losing energy to false hope. You stop confusing politeness with interest, and you start living with the quiet confidence of a man who sees clearly, chooses wisely, and moves decisively, which is the ultimate victory according to Old Stoic wisdom, the hallmark of an iron mind, and the essence of what it truly means to Stoicism win. If you made it this far, you already know the truth most men try to ignore. Attraction doesn't hide in words. It shows up in distance, tension, and silence. Her body always answers before her mouth does. So here's the move that separates men who grow from men who stay stuck. Stop chasing mixed signals. Start respecting clear ones. If this hit home, comment this below and make it real. I accept reality early, and I choose self-respect over false hope. 7. Emotional distance. When a woman is not interested in you, the clearest and most decisive sign is emotional distance. This is the final line you must learn to recognize without denial or excuses, because emotional distance is not accidental. It is intentional, and it speaks louder than words ever could. She never truly lets you in, not because she is shy or guarded by nature, but because she has already decided, often unconsciously, that you are not the man she wants to build something deeper with. So she keeps every interaction safe, controlled, and surface level. She talks about neutral topics and daily routines, shares harmless stories, but never her fears, never her private struggles, never the dreams that keep her awake at night, never the thoughts that reveal her inner world. This is where many men get confused because they mistake politeness for connection and consistency for attraction. That is a misunderstanding of female psychology because emotional openness is the currency of interest, and when that currency is never spent, it means there is no investment. Don't tell yourself she just needs time. Don't assume she will open up later if you try harder. Don't chase depth from someone who has chosen distance. When a woman is interested, she wants to be known. She wants you to understand her. She volunteers vulnerability without being pushed. She creates emotional moments naturally. She asks deeper questions. She remembers details. She leans into conversations instead of escaping them. This is not manipulation or mystery. It is basic human behavior explained through psychology tricks and honest observation of how attraction actually works. When she is not interested, you can know her for weeks, months, even years, and still realize one day that you know nothing real about her. Every time the conversation approaches meaning, she deflects, she jokes. She changes the subject, she delays, she keeps emotional doors closed. That distance is not confusion, it is clarity. You must respect it. Trying to force emotional closeness where it is not offered only weakens your position and drains your self-respect. Be clear with yourself. Be honest about what you are experiencing. Be disciplined enough to walk away from emotional dead ends. A woman who sees you as just someone to talk to will never suddenly wake up and fall deeply in love, no matter how patient or kind you are. Understanding this is one of the most important lessons in female psychology and how to fall in love the right way, not through chasing, not through proving, but through mutual emotional investment. Don't confuse availability with intimacy. Don't confuse frequent contact with connection. A woman can reply to messages, laugh at jokes, and still feel nothing beyond comfort. Comfort without emotional depth leads nowhere romantic. It leads to stagnation, frustration, and wasted time. That is why emotionally unavailable behavior should never be negotiated with, explained away, or tolerated indefinitely. Attraction grows in shared vulnerability, not in emotional silence. When she keeps you at arm's length, it is because that is exactly where she wants you to stay. Accept this without bitterness, without resentment, without self-blame. Her lack of interest is not a verdict on your worth, it is simply a mismatch of desire and timing. The strongest response is not persuasion, but detachment, not confrontation, but calm withdrawal. Nothing communicates self-respect more clearly than recognizing when you are not wanted and choosing to move forward anyway. Psychology tricks do not mean manipulation. They mean awareness. They mean reading patterns instead of clinging to hope. They mean understanding that emotional distance is a decision, not a phase. Once you see it clearly, you are free to stop investing where there is no return and redirect your energy toward a woman who wants depth with you, who invites you into her inner world, who trusts you with her fears and dreams. That is how real connection begins. That is how attraction grows naturally. That is how love, real love, has the space to form. And the moment you truly understand this principle of female psychology and how to fall in love wisely, you stop chasing closed doors and start becoming the man who only walks through doors that are already open. All right, my friend, let's bring this home. Calm, clear, and grounded. If you've been seeing these signs, take a breath and face the truth with dignity. She's not interested, and that's not a failure, it's information. No amount of pushing, calling, or trying harder will turn confusion into desire. So stop chasing, not to prove anything, not to play games, but to protect your self-respect. When a woman truly wants you, you won't have to decode mixed signals or read between the lines. Interest is simple. It's clear. Confusion is already your answer. Don't keep investing your time, energy, and heart into someone who treats you like an option. You deserve someone who shows up willingly, someone who chooses you without hesitation. And you'll never meet that woman while you're busy running after someone who's moving away. This is the shift. This is where you reclaim your power. Walk away with your head high and make space for something real.